The city, huge, busy, with its endless streams of people, cars, sounds, and events. In the midst of all this bustle lived a young man named Alexei. It always seemed to him that the city, as well as the people around him, seemed to be pressing on him from all sides. Every day was filled with endless interactions, work, friends, random meetings. But behind it all was one problem he couldn't solve: how to understand people, especially women, when there was so much unpredictability in them. More than once Alexei faced the fact that his relationships were destroyed, barely begun. He was lost in their emotions, not knowing how to respond to outbursts or silent insults. Why is it so hard to understand them? He asked himself. Why is it that even when I try, things go wrong? Each new day added to the uncertainty of his own strength and ability. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something, that he didn't understand something important about the human world. One evening, walking home through the narrow city streets, he saw a street musician playing at the corner of an alley. This old man looked unremarkable, but the music he played was so pure and calm that Alexei stopped, mesmerized. The notes poured out as if to pacify all the surrounding chaos, and even the city itself became quieter for a moment. Alexei sat down on a bench nearby, listening to the melody, feeling the restlessness leave him. After the old man finished playing, he raised his head and smiled, meeting Alexei's gaze. In his eyes was that wisdom that one can only gain after years of observing life and people. Alexei felt that this man knew more than he seemed to. He stepped closer. The old man spoke, his voice quiet but confident. You are here for a reason. This bustling city is full of passions, ambitions, emotions, and many of them confuse us. But the truth is always the same. People are not as complicated as you think. They confuse themselves with their own desires and fears. Alexei remained silent, listening to his words like the calm notes that had spilled out minutes earlier. The old man continued. He said that all this hustle and bustle, all this city and its inhabitants are just a reflection of the inner chaos of man. And if you don't learn to find peace within yourself, how can you find understanding in this world? The city, said the old man, is not just a place where we live. It is an allegory of our lives. It is full of noises that distract us, just as our minds are full of thoughts, emotions, and impulses. To understand others, we need to learn to see beyond the noise, to learn to find the silence amidst the chaos. He told Alexei that the key to understanding people, and women in particular, lies not in their words, but in the ability to see deeper, to observe their behavior and reactions, realizing that their actions are often dictated by emotions that they themselves do not fully understand. But to see this, you have to let go of your own inner struggle and be calm. The old man pointed to the light of a street lamp that illuminated a small patch of dark sidewalk. That light is you. When it is clear, it sheds light on everything around you, and you can see clearly what is going on. But if the light flickers like a flame in the wind, you start to get confused, distorting the reality around you. You are the light that needs to be steady to see the truth behind people as words and actions. Alexei thought for a moment. He had always tried to fight his circumstances, to control what was beyond his control. But now he began to realize it didn't matter what was happening around you, it mattered how you perceived it. If you stay calm, if you don't let your emotions take over, you start to see more. You start reading people not by what they say, but by what is behind their words. The old man went on to say that understanding women, like any other human being, requires first of all controlling your own passions. You must not try to second guess or manipulate their emotions. You must be the light that illuminates the path. And then you will see that behind every outburst of anger or joy there is something deeper, and that can only be understood by someone who has found peace within himself. Alexei felt a new understanding dawning in his heart. He realized that many of his problems in relationships and in life came not from others, but from his inability to control his own emotions and expectations. If he could achieve inner clarity, he would be able to see beyond the actions of others to their true nature. These 5 things will change your life forever. Listen and soak up the wisdom. In this unique video, I will tell you 5 things that a wise person never voices. You'll be surprised by the last of them. But before we begin, I want to share with you one important story that will help you better understand the main idea of this video. So listen carefully, it matters. Imagine a small town where there lived an old gardener who was known not only for his beautiful gardens, but also for his profound wisdom. People came to him not only for gardening advice, but also for his unusual outlook on life. The old man had a special way of teaching through the beauty of his gardens. One day, a young and energetic man, full of curiosity, came to the old man for instruction. This young man was known in town for his cheerfulness and sociability, but felt he was missing something more, something that would give his life real meaning. The old man listened to him and offered him a challenge: work in the garden for a whole week, but keep quiet. Every day at dawn, the gardener imparted a life lesson to him, but always silently, through action. The young man accepted the challenge with enthusiasm, interested in what he would learn. Day 1, the value of silence. At dawn, the old man took the young man to a special place in the garden and showed him how to carefully prune the roses without saying a word. With gestures, he seemed to be saying, "Silence allows us to hear what words cannot convey. Learn to be mindful and observe the world around you." Day 2, wisdom in restraint. The next day, they planted seeds and the old man showed them how to carefully choose a place for each plant. Restraint is a virtue that protects our affairs and relationships. Let your actions speak for you. Day 3, cultivate positivity. By watering the plants, the old man showed how important it is to avoid negativity and increase joy and gratitude in your life. Positivity is like you. Day 4, selfless generosity. Nature gives without expecting anything in return. The gardener gestured as they fed the birds. Do good for the sake of the good itself, not for recognition. Day 5, empathy and understanding. By caring for an old tree, the gardener showed that one must understand the needs of every creature. Avoid discussing other people as mistakes. It is important to seek understanding and support. Day 6, facing fears. Working in the garden, the old man taught that fears should not stop you. Face them and find strength within yourself. Day 7, true wealth of the heart. The last lesson was that true wealth is not measured in material things, but in relationships and inner abundance. The young man was deeply moved by these lessons. He realized that the most important knowledge is imparted without words, through action and presence. These principles became his guide in life. This story shows 7 things we should keep to ourselves, other people as secrets, personal agendas, complaints, good deeds, other people as mistakes, fears, and our material possessions. Now that we've learned about them, let us move on to the 5 things a smart person never says. Let us start with the first one, gossip. Imagine you are sitting in your office drinking coffee when suddenly you hear, "Did you hear what happened to Maria?" Curiosity takes over, but stop. Do you really need to know? Gossip is like a sweet that is pleasant at first, but then leaves an unpleasant residue. So why are we so drawn to gossip? Studies show that 65% of our conversations are gossip, but not all gossip is bad. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar argues that gossip has helped humans build social bonds. However, it is important to know the measure. How do you know when you've crossed the line? If your words might embarrass the other person, don't say them. If the information isn't from a reliable source, don't spread it. And if you rejoice in other people as failures, it is worth stopping and reflecting. It is hard to resist temptation, but redirect your energy. Instead of gossip, tell something good. As Socrates said, the way to a good reputation is to be what you want to appear to be. Now let us move on to practical solutions. Take a challenge. Try not to say anything bad about others for a week. You will see your perception change. Before you say anything, pause and think about whether it might be worth talking about something good. If you fall into the gossip trap, don't berate yourself. It happens to everyone. The important thing is to realize it and change. As Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. Number 2. Provocations. Have you ever been in a situation where someone is trying to piss you off? That uncomfortable moment when you feel yourself boiling inside and are ready to utter harsh words. But before you succumb to this ploy, let us understand why reasonable people avoid provocations like children try not to eat broccoli at a feast. Imagine that provocations are like annoying commercial breaks during your favorite show. What do? You change the channel, right? That's what smart people do with provocations. They just change the subject. But why is it so important to avoid these communication traps? The fact is that our brains are wired for threats, and provocation is perceived as a social threat. It is like when someone yells, "Look out! There's a tiger in the bush." Your survival instinct kicks in and you're ready for action. However, this is where emotional intelligence comes in. It is like a superpower that helps you see what is behind other people's actions. Emotionally intelligent people realize that insecurity, pain, or boredom are often behind provocation. Do not think that avoiding provocation makes you weak. On the contrary, it takes more strength to resist than to give in. It is like giving up that last slice of pizza when you're on a diet. It is hard, but the feeling of victory afterward is priceless. And how do you apply this to life? The next time someone tries to provoke you, imagine you're a duck. Yes, a duck, because water rolls down its feathers, leaving no trace. In the same way, let the provocation pass you by without hitting you. Another way is to use humor. Imagine that you have a shield of jokes that deflects any provocation. When someone tries to jab you, respond with a light joke. This will not only disarm the provocateur, but also diffuse the situation around you. You are like a comedy ninja in the midst of a verbal duel. Every time you avoid provocation, you strengthen your emotional muscles. It is like working out at the gym, only for your brain. And the best part is, you don't have to lift weights or sweat. Just stay calm and smile. So, the next time someone tries to bully you, remember that you are smarter than that. Stay calm, smile and move on. Your future self will definitely say thank you. Number 3. Social media privacy. Have you ever wondered if you should put all the details of your life on social media? Think of your life as a house and social media as the windows to that house. Would you want anyone to be able to look inside? Probably not. But that is what we do when we share too much online. Don't worry, I am not going to berate social media. They're great tools if you use them wisely. The key is to find a balance between what you post and what you hide. Did you know that even technology professionals are very careful about what they put online? Many of them minimize their social media activity. Why? because they understand the risks better than anyone else. Your online posts are like digital tattoos. Once you post something, it can stay on the internet forever. That awkward selfie from a party on Saturday night could suddenly pop up in your next job interview. Ouch. But it is not all that scary. There are smart ways to use social media while maintaining your privacy. For example, have you ever thought about creating separate profiles for your personal and professional life? It is like having two different closets, one for work and one for vacation. Now let us talk about passwords. Yes, I know it is not the most exciting topic, but trust me, a good password is like a strong deodorant. You don't realize its importance until you actually need it. Use unique and complex passwords for each account. And no, password 123 is not considered a good password. Another thing to consider is geolocation. Sure, it is great to share your photos with exact coordinates. But do you want everyone to know where you are at every moment? It is as if you strapped a GPS to your back and gave control to strangers. By the way, how many of your social media friends do you know personally? It is easy to fall into the trap of collecting friends like collectible cards. But remember, every new contact is a new window into your personal life. And don't forget about privacy policies. Yes, those are the long texts that no one reads. It might be worth it to at least start reviewing them or finding short versions of them. It is like reading the composition of the foods you eat just for your digital life. Ultimately, using social media wisely isn't about fearing or wanting to disappear from the online space. It is about being aware and in control of your digital activity. Think before you post, choose who you share with, and protect your personal information like you would your toothbrush. Number 4. Empty promises. Imagine you are at a party and a friend asks you to help move next weekend. Without hesitation, you agree, even though you already know you have other plans. Sound familiar? You've just fallen for the hook of empty promises. Empty promises are like checks that can't be cashed. They sound convincing, but when it comes time to fulfill them, there is nothing behind them. And like bad checks, they can lead to a lot of problems. Why do we make empty promises? It turns out that our brains seek social approval. Saying yes seems like an easy way to please people, but this tactic can be very costly in the long run. Imagine your brain is a bank. Every time you make a promise, you are making a deposit into another person's trust account. But if you don't keep that promise, it is like a major withdrawal. And as with any bank, if you make too many withdrawals, you can end up at a disadvantage. How do you avoid this trap? Here are some tips. Think before you promise something. Before agreeing, give yourself time to assess whether you can fulfill it. Learn to say no. It is not as easy as it sounds, but it is an important skill. Remember, it is better to have an honest no than a fake yes. Be realistic in your assessment of your time and capabilities. You're not a superhero and you have your limitations. Express your thoughts clearly. If you're not sure you can accomplish something, say so. People will appreciate your honesty. Always keep the promises you make. If you made a promise, do everything you can to fulfill it. Your reputation will only benefit from it. Remember, wise people realize that a promise is a serious commitment. It is not just words thrown in the air. It is a contract of sorts that can strengthen or destroy a relationship. Even in business, keeping promises, so the next time you are tempted to make a promise without thinking, remember that your words have weight. They are not balloons that you can release into the sky and forget. They are anchors that bind you to people. A smart man carefully evaluates his commitments. He doesn't promise the heavens and stars, realizing that he can only offer a candle. Instead, he promises less but delivers more. This is how strong reputations and long-term relationships are built. Number 5. Intelligent handling of personal grievances and complaints. When was the last time you felt like work was literally squeezing the life out of you? You are not alone. Imagine your job is a pressure cooker. If you don't let off the steam, it will eventually explode, leaving behind chaos. Your complaints are like that steam. The only question is how to manage that pressure. The first step is to take a deep breath. Yes, that's right. Before you vent your frustration, take a minute to breathe. Did you know that just 60 seconds of deep breathing can significantly reduce your stress levels? It acts like a superpower that helps you stay calm. Now ask yourself, is it really worth voicing this complaint? Sometimes we just need to talk it out, but other times complaining only makes things worse. It acts like scratching a mosquito bite. It feels better at first, but then the itching gets worse. If you decide a complaint is worth hearing, turn it into a constructive suggestion. Instead of "I hate this project," say, "I think we can improve this project." Feel the difference? It acts like turning lemons into lemonade, only in a professional context. Be wise in choosing the people with whom you share your complaints. Your coworker may be a great conversationalist for office conversations, but he or she isn't always the best option for work problems. Find someone who can really help. It acts like choosing the right doctor. You wouldn't go to the dentist if you have back pain, right? Remember that constant whining can be contagious, and not in a good way. It acts like an emotional cold that spreads throughout the office. Before you realize it, everyone around you is already sneezing negativity. And who would want to work in such an atmosphere? No one, I assure you. Instead of complaining, focus on what you can control. If you don't like something, offer a solution. If someone is making you uncomfortable, try talking directly to that person. It acts like steering a ship in a storm. You can't control the weather, but you can control your ship. And if none of that helps, there is always the option of changing jobs. Sometimes the best solution is a new environment. It acts like changing the channel if you don't like the movie. You don't have to keep watching something you don't like. By using these things, you can change your life for the better. Watch our videos, soak up the wisdom, and think about what you are doing. You will succeed. This video touches on a very important topic that haunts throughout life, namely relationships with girls. If you already have a partner, but suddenly you have some conflicts with him, then listen to one story that can help you. In a small town lived a man named Alex. On the surface, he was ordinary, a successful job, a beautiful family, a house that everyone dreams of. But something inside didn't give him peace. Every evening, coming home, he felt that something was wrong. Everything seemed to be in order. His wife was waiting for him with dinner. His children were happily running around the house, but tension was building up in his relationship with his wife. One day, after another argument with his wife, Alex went for a walk in the old park. His thoughts were as heavy as rocks, and at one point he sat on a bench looking at the calm surface of the pond. An elderly man sat down next to him, an old philosophy teacher known for his wise advice. Alex began to talk. He complained about his fatigue, about his relationship problems, about how hard it was to bear it all. The teacher, listening carefully, pronounced, "You are trying to fix the world around you, but you forgot to fix yourself." We ourselves often bring problems into relationships that we could avoid if we knew what not to do. The teacher told Alex 5 things a man should never do with women. It was these lessons that were the turning point for him. Alex realized that it wasn't about the people around him, it was about how he acted. These lessons changed the way he looked at relationships and himself. Now listen to these 5 important lessons. Let us start with the first one. Controlling another person is not a strength, but a manifestation of weakness. Seeking to constantly control your partner as actions and decisions can destroy the fundamentals of any relationship. Men often try to control a woman by checking her phone, limiting her time, or questioning her friendships. These behaviors indicate fear and insecurity rather than caring. If you notice these behaviors, you need to reevaluate your behavior immediately. Control destroys trust, which is the foundation of any strong relationship. A woman deprived of freedom begins to feel trapped, and this inevitably leads to emotional alienation. Allow her to make her own decisions and exercise autonomy as you do. This is important for her self-esteem and for your mutual respect. Let go of this feeling, otherwise you risk losing the person you love. But most importantly, don't get yourself worked up. It is always possible to change. The main thing is to realize it and move in the right direction. And here are some tips on how best to do it. Allow her to be independent. Start with small steps, like discussing your expectations and boundaries. Discuss what independence means to both of you. Talk about how much time each of you wants to spend with friends and how you can maintain that freedom. This will set the stage for open communication and help avoid misunderstandings in the future. Ask her how she feels about time spent with friends and discuss how you can support each other in this. Both parties need to realize that freedom does not threaten the relationship, but rather strengthens it. It is important to realize that everyone has their moments for rest and recovery. Next, move on to more decisive steps. Give your partner space to enjoy her time alone or with friends. Tell her you understand when she needs time to herself, and let her know you respect her personal space. This can be either reading time or time spent with loved ones. If you have the opportunity, take on household chores so she can relax and rejuvenate. Discuss your experiences after her time with friends. After her time with friends, discuss what it was like and show interest in her experiences. Ask her about her time with her friends, what new things she learned, or what interesting things happened. Share your own impressions of time spent alone or with friends. This creates an atmosphere of mutual support and respect where both partners can be themselves. At the end, you can let go of the person completely. By this point, all the dark sides of the person are already clear. The main thing is not to be afraid to take this decisive step. Number 2. Don't suppress her emotions. Emotions are an important part of human nature and they are not always rational. Men sometimes find it difficult to understand why a woman expresses her feelings so openly. However, trying to get her to calm down or ignore her emotions leads to serious consequences. Every woman needs to be listened to, not have her feelings devalued. A simple situation: you get home and your partner starts sharing her worries after a hard day. You may immediately offer a solution to her problems, but this will only be an attempt to address the symptom, not the root of her feelings. Women tend to want support and understanding, not immediate solutions. If you start saying things like "stop worrying, it has nothing," she will feel misunderstood and unappreciated. If you have a hard time hearing her emotions, don't push them away. Learn to be more tolerant. Learn to be more tolerant. Her feelings deserve attention just as much as yours. If you suppress her feelings, she may start to shut down and you lose emotional intimacy, which eventually leads to dire consequences in the form of major quarrels and breakup. The main thing on your part to take the right actions. One of the most effective means, it is active listening. And when your partner begins to share their experiences, make sure that you are fully focused on her. It is important that you are in a cozy environment with as few distractions as possible. When your partner is talking, look her in the eye. This shows that you are fully engaged in the conversation. Visual contact helps strengthen the connection and signals that you are paying attention to what she is saying. But here, as a small point, don't distract yourself with other thoughts. It will be immediately noticeable. You ask how. Blinking, that is what transmits our train of thought, and people read it perfectly on an unconscious level. If you are not able to concentrate on one thought, then do not get upset. At the end of the video you will get some exercises to develop concentra. But if we go back to active listening, the second important point is, do not interrupt your interlocutor. It is at this very moment he needs to pour out all his soul. Also, interrupting can cause a feeling that you do not value her opinion or want to impose your thoughts, which can exacerbate an already deplorable condition. Another very powerful tool is reflecting emotions. When you paraphrase what your interlocutor said, it is best to weave it into your life stories. This will better create a contact of understanding and movement in the same thought. When the interlocutor comes to the end, it is important to end correctly, offer some solutions and backfill with kind words. Number 3, in today's world, we are often faced with the pressure of the expectations of others. The desire to please others, especially those close to us, is becoming the norm. We change our decisions, preferences, and even our dreams just to get approval from those we care about. Sound familiar? However, this can turn into serious problems because your inner happiness and well-being should not depend on the opinion of others. You need to realize that your happiness, your goals, and your self-expression are your personal journey. When you live for the approval of others, you undermine your self-esteem and lose your sense of identity. Every time you choose something based on the opinions of others, you give up your true nature and your desires. As Epictetus said, "Don't let external circumstances determine your nature." This phrase captures the essence of Stoicism. True happiness comes from within, and it shouldn't depend on the opinions of the people around you. And there are several variations on why we seek approval. Social connections. Humans are social creatures, and we seek recognition and approval. In our society, approval is considered an indicator of success and social acceptability. We want to be part of a group, to be loved and accepted. Fear of rejection. Many people find it difficult to make decisions without the opinions of others because of the fear of being rejected. This fear can be so strong that they begin to ignore their own wants and needs. Parenting and culture. From childhood we are taught to be good children, to please our parents, and to follow societal norms. This forms attitudes in us that are difficult to overcome in adulthood. If you can't live without the approval of other people, you shouldn't be too hard on yourself. Completely you will get rid of it if you go as far away from civilization and society as possible. But this does not mean that you should not take steps throughout your life to change directly in society. It is very important not to be afraid to refuse people when it is necessary. If a request goes against your desires or values, you need to be able to say no. Not only will this help you stay true to yourself, but it will also teach others to respect your boundaries. Or if you set aside time regularly to evaluate your accomplishments and progress, remind yourself of what you have accomplished. Or if you set aside time regularly to evaluate your accomplishments and progress, remind yourself of what you have accomplished, regardless of the opinions of others. But don't set your goals too big. Go small steps up the mountain called life. Number 4. Don't dismiss her feelings. Women often express their emotions more openly and emotionally. This doesn't mean that their feelings are less meaningful or deserve less attention. When a man rejects his partner as emotions, he breaks the emotional connection between them. The partner begins to feel misunderstood and rejected, leading to accumulating frustration. You come home from work and she starts talking about something that is bothering her. You may think it as a minor problem and decide it as better to just offer a quick fix. But by doing so, you are denying her emotional experience. She needs understanding and empathy, not your logical conclusions and criticism. A man who shows attention to her emotions lets her know that her feelings are important, that she can count on you for support in any situation. If you often dismiss her feelings or devalue them, you risk destroying emotional intimacy. So when your partner shares her experiences with you, avoid the urge to immediately offer a solution. Sometimes a woman just needs to speak up and feel supported. Listen to her and then ask questions to understand how she feels. You should be prepared that understanding her emotions takes time. If you find it difficult to accept some feelings, analyze why this is happening. Work on your own acceptance of emotions as part of the human experience. And don't forget that you are not the one who is required to solve all problems, but your support can be the thing that changes her world. Number 5. Don't be afraid to forgive. Each of us, being human, can make a mistake. Sometimes it happens consciously, sometimes it happens in a rush of emotion. It's important to realize that even the closest people can hurt each other, and it as part of the human experience. Mistakes can occur due to miscommunication, stress, fatigue, or even just by accident. Often words can be misinterpreted. For example, your partner may have said something in a joking manner, but you took it as criticism. These situations can lead to resentment and resentment. Also, during difficult times when we are stressed, we may not show our best behavior. Your partner may be irritable because of work, and this can affect your relationship. Or even without malice, we may say or do something that hurts the other person as feelings. Sometimes it happens so quickly that we don't have time to realize the consequences. That's why it's important to understand the need and importance of forgiveness. Mistakes are parts of life. In any, even the most perfect couple, there will be conflicts and mistakes. Facing reality when one partner does something wrong or hurtful can lead to suffering. It is important to realize that mistakes are not a reason to destroy a relationship, but an opportunity for growth. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness does not mean that you forget what happened or that you approve of the other's actions. Rather, it is the act of releasing the burden of resentment that allows you to move on. By forgiving, you are not just releasing the other person from guilt, you are releasing yourself from the weight of negative emotions. Also in relationships, this powerful tool allows you to clear your heart and mind of the weight of resentment. This creates space for new emotions, feelings and memories that can strengthen your bond with your partner. Not to forget, it also has a positive effect on your inner state. You are freed from negative emotions, which helps improve your overall psychological health. This, in turn, makes you more calm and confident. And it has not just the ability to recover from trouble, but also the ability to learn from difficult situations, which ultimately makes you stronger and wiser. Don't be afraid to forgive. It is an important step toward rebuilding relationships and your own emotional well-being. As Marcus Aurelius said, your life is what your thoughts make it. When we forgive, we free our hearts and open the door to new possibilities and feelings. This process takes time and effort, but it is worth it. Realize your power of forgiveness and you will see how it will change your life and your relationships for the better. And now, as promised, Practices for the development of concentration of thought. First, 5 minutes. Choose a task you want to focus on. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Work only on that task without distracting yourself with other thoughts or activities. When the timer rings, take a short break 12 minutes and then repeat the process. Gradually increase the time if you feel you can focus longer. Second, breathing practice. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Start breathing deeply. Inhale through the nose for the count of 4, hold for 4, exhale through the mouth for 6. Focus on your breath and how it is moving within you. If thoughts begin to wander, simply return to counting your breath. Do this exercise for 5 to 10 minutes. Third, an hour of silence. Choose a quiet place where no one will disturb you. Make sure you have everything you need: books, notebooks, materials, etc. Set a timer for 60 minutes. Immerse yourself in thought and reflection and try not to get distracted. If thoughts of other things arise, write them down and return to the main task at hand. By doing this every day, you will achieve incredible concentration, which is now lacking in the modern world, which means you will become more in demand and competitive. To summarize, a man seeking inner fortitude and harmony should remember his principles not only in his personal life, but also in his relationships with other people. We cannot control the world or the actions of those around us, but we can always choose how to respond to them. In relationships with women, this choice is especially important. Try to avoid anger. Give up trying to control the lives of others. Support her instead of belittling her. Be attentive to her emotions and never forget gratitude. As Marcus Aurelius said, life is not what happens to you, but how you react to it. Strive for self-control, resilience, and wisdom in your actions, and let your relationships be a reflection of your inner strength and harmony.